Welcome to VisionCon 2023. This is where we be, and this is where you're looking at us through the magic of the internet. That's right. But we are here today on day two, Saturday, when all the magic comes together. Everybody's coming down. It's supposed to be over 5,000 of you on site. But now we're going to be talking to thousands and thousands over the internet and through our Twitch channel and through YouTube. And why are we here? It's because there was a movie back in a time that had such a fantastic following, some of the best startup special effects, and then everybody said, well, I could do that too. Where do we start our own Ghostbusters Club? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am introducing you today to Missouri Ghostbusters. Missouri Ghostbusters, and they're on your, let's see, stay the other side. I'm going to say, John, raise your hand. There's John, and then Jason, and Nate. He can hear you through that contraption on his head, but it's going to be picking his brain. But that's what we want them to do, is pick their brains and tell you more about Missouri Ghostbusters. And what the heck do you guys have in front of you?
Well, we've got a lot of the tools of the trade here in front of us, the stuff that we lug around to conventions such as VisionCon annually, parades, and other things you might see us out and about in the community there. A lot of the big ones. I don't know if we want to start with the biggest one, the most identifiable one that everybody sees right here in front of us. We've got the Proton Pack. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys since you're the specialists on this one. Let's tell them a little bit about the Proton Pack that they might not know, or what are we looking at as far as how we do our gear and that kind of stuff.
Well, some of the first proton packs were actually made not long after the movie. Some people went and saw the movie just multiple times and then just used whatever they could, cardboard. Uh, just from there, they went to foam. Then they went to plastics, and they've just been making packs ever since the movies come out.
Which is quite a dedication considering, home video release in 1984 was still quite expensive. Not a lot of people had those. So you're probably talking people going off of memory
Mhm.
or, other promotional stills, books or stuff that you purchase after the movie kind of stuff. So quite a dedication there.
But then eventually they got to the point. Uh, this is a mass-produced pack made by. It was made by Hasbro. Uh, it was a kind of like a Kickstarter type thing they did. Um, but yeah, it was full-size pack. Came with lights, sounds. I've pretty heavily modified mine to make it uh, more accurate to what I would like. I've done some stuff inside. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty easy nowadays to just go out. Spirit Halloween, you can buy they even have a full size now, but they also have a 80% scale if you've got kids that want to pack. Uh, Full size,
And that's
get
probably the
whatever you
most
want.
that's probably the most budget friendly one. If you want to start out with something, we've got a lot of people in our group that start with that. The 80% is a great one to mod. It's easy to work on, add stuff, personalize it. Some groups are very much sticklers about accuracy on stuff, but as you've seen through all the media and depictions of Ghostbusters, you've got people that do the cartoon, you've got people that do 2016 movie, you've got the video game, which I'm a fan of, pieces of that we talk about mods too, but a lot of creativity that you can put in that to either personalize it, whether it's different types of light functions, different kind of bling you put on it, stickers, that kind of stuff. So again, the Spirit one's probably the easiest one. It's about $75-$80, I think,
Mhm.
right now. And then the full size one, what does the Spirit one run that's out
I think it's
now?
$2.99.
$299, which is still pretty affordable. It's got lights and sounds. Most people choose to upgrade those. There's a lot of online kits and things for that you can go into. But again, fairly budget friendly in comparison to what's out there right now. If you want something to start where you've almost got a full thing ready to go out of the box. Um, Other than that, as far as our group goes, we've always been encouraging of people to, again, put their creativity in what they do, even if it's starting from the ground up. Joining our group usually starts with enthusiasm for the movie, enthusiasm for the group, and stuff like that. And usually all we ask of them in return is put on a Ghostbusters t-shirt. So maybe that's a $15, $10 purchase of that. Meet us at one of the things at one of our free events like the St. Patrick's Day Parade. That's usually a good place we can get a lot of people in one space. And we'll see where it goes from there. And being encouraging of the next step up from that point, which is typically things like the jumpsuit, which you can get readily available through different military supply areas, or Amazon typically has those and the different variations of those. Those run about anywhere between $40 to $60, $75 for those if you wanted to look at those. Boots, black, any black works good. Tucked or untucked, depending on if you want to be lazy like Venkman. Most of us prefer to tuck those if we've got the military style boots just to show off the zippers and everything like that. But again, varying on the amount you want to start out with, we're very encouraging. Start low and we'll work up with you from there.
And that's one of the big draws of the movie is even though they had uniforms and they had all the same gear, there was just little variations on there. Collars up, collars down, zipped up, zipped down, tucked in, tucked out. Each pack for each actor was slightly different to sort of reflect how they wanted to sit on their shoulders and where their back pains were.
Potential accidents like a bent knob.
Yeah, yeah.
Seen on Ray's back.
And so that's why because that sort of personalization was in the movie, that's why it carries over so well to the fandom. Wow, man, I really like green, so I really want this just be bright green and really show it off. That kind of stuff. It's not. Oh well, it's no longer Ghostbusters because that is not 100% accurate. It's all Ghostbusters because they're all throwing stuff together to make it work.
Which is kind of how they were built. Like a lot of those movies at the time, we're talking like just hardware store stuff, a lot of surplus from Vietnam and Korean War type stuff. As you can see, we got the military frame on there, standard military Alice frame there as the basis. But again, knobs, resistors, things like that, a little bit harder to get nowadays. But again, we're in the advent of 3D printing, so a lot of that can be fabricated as well. But really, again, a lot of options for what you want to do to make it as accurate or not accurate, or again, whatever floats your boat in that. We're encouraging of that. And this one is based off of the newest depiction of the proton pack, the Spengler pack. So we've got the Afterlife, the last movie that was out. These are modifications that Egon Spengler did off screen somewhere between I think the early 2000s between the time we see them in 2021. So I don't know if all of this has been explained exactly why he did these things. We're leaving that to the literature or maybe the sequels to explain.
But a bunch of stuff from the first movie still hasn't been explained, so we're waiting on that. That may be a longer wait for the stuff out of Afterlife.
Right, like things like the P tube that we have attached to our legs that doesn't really have a name or name for the function other than it looked aesthetically pleasing with probably the hose on the other side of the pack just balancing out a picture of how they look and things like that. So looks like Jason's disassembling his right now to show you some of the innards of what's going on in there. Of course, you see the lights rotating there. I guess they wanted, for the first time in the movies, show us, why or what's going on inside there with those lights moving around. We can tilt that to the camera there. Can you see that in the camera there? Okay, yeah, so nice. And you've modified this a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah. Inside, that's a solid piece how it came, but I put the lights in there, and the nice thing is the lights follow the pattern and shut down at the same time, and just looks real nice in there.
And I imagine Hasbro's probably, as the movies keep going, bring this back out in some form or another here in the future. We were expecting an announcement online yesterday for Friday the 13th, and they kind of pulled that back on us till the 27th of October. So I'm expecting a piece of equipment being revealed, whether it's going to be the pack again in another form, or a trap, or a PKE meter, which hasn't been out since the Mattel days, probably in the mid 2000s at that point. So we're not really sure what to expect there, but I would imagine it's going to be something gear related.
But it's been really exciting because we've carried this fandom in our hearts for so long. We've met each other, reached out to each other online because hey, I saw you like Ghostbusters, or hey, I saw you guys at a event. I love Ghostbusters too, and now big companies like Hasbro and Sony's doing more stuff with Ghostbusters. So it's very, very vindicating to be like, it's still cool. It's still cool. I was right.
Yeah, it's great that the last movie was as successful as it was to be able to even get to another sequel at this point in time, as we're kind of hitting superhero fatigue. And I mean, even Star Wars has got some cooling off time right now. So I hope that the next one, because it's coinciding, they pushed it back because of the writer's strike and some other things, but it just seems right because it is coinciding with the 40th anniversary next year. Again, very little details on that other than the logo being splashed with some ice or something. We don't know if that's villain related or anything going on there, but I hope they can keep it a secret until we get there. Live the age of spoilers. It's good to be surprised when you get there to some extent.
They gave us a cool image and a confirmation they're going back to New York. It's all I require.
We assume Slimer's coming back too. You go to New York, you kind of expect that. He was sidelined the last time around. I think people are really looking forward to him. Like some of the things we've got here on display, there's several depictions of Slimer at our booth, but our Lego folks across the way from us have a nice Slimer model, and they've assured me his butt crack is accurate to the first depiction. That's my standard for the Slimer stuff. If it ain't got that crack, send it back. I'm going to TM that one because honestly, you see some modern depictions where I guess it's like sensitivity with the adult stuff, but he's supposed to be grotesque. That was the whole point. Yeah. Grotesque, slimy, food dripping out, all this, and of course, fart might slip out every now and then. We got to have that detail in there that makes it. Slimer's got the junk in the trunk too, as well. What's going on there?
And that was the big justification when the Afterlife came out. I think most people loved it, but the big question was, where's Slimer? Where's Slimer? The director had a great statement of, well, this movie takes place in Oklahoma. Slimer's a New York guy. So now we're back.
Not quite like the cartoon. So where he travels in a baby seat sometimes like an infant. But yeah, and there's some theories about that. I'm hoping that they kind of left him in the firehouse to kind of keep guard on everything, scare people away like a ghost should. I mean, they've got that containment unit, which is still a potential hazard too, as we saw what happened in the movie State, County, and all other kind of explosive material going on there. But we're kind of jumping all over the place as far as that
all
goes.
All we're doing is showing us what it means to be a true fan.
Filling time and content there, but let's go back to as Nate was getting off there about how we became a group based on the love and how we get together with stuff like that. So we've been a group. We're again coinciding with the 40th anniversary. Will be our 15th year as a group here. As a lot of things, it starts kind of slow. For me, I was, I'd gone as a Ghostbuster. I had the Kenner pack as a kid. Probably did cardboard variations at a certain point for Halloween. There was just one Halloween where I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to make one more sturdy, more accurate in some way. Made one out of hardware store parts. Bought the jumpsuit, all that stuff. Go out to pub crawl. Get great pictures. Win a costume contest or something. And then it's like, well, what now? You just put this in a closet? Do you sell it? What do you do? But for me, Ghostbusters, I was born in 1982, so still too young to see it in the theatrical thing. But at the advent of VHS, when it was really expensive, anywhere between $30 and $60 for a tape, the two tapes we had was from 1984, Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Because of that, those two are my favorite movies, probably my most watched movies. So that's where my love of it comes from. And again, going into the Halloween stuff, having that stuff after that was, let's see who else is out there that shares that kind of passion for that. The Arizona Ghostbusters were probably one of the first bigly renowned groups that took the idea of Venkman's franchising the group that he mentions in the movie briefly and started their own thing. They started doing parades in Arizona. So as the internet community started growing, eyes were on them to kind of as a lead and an example of how to do things. So basically, I pitched my feelers to the internet, see who was in the community that had stuff already, was interested in stuff like that, and I found a set of brothers down in West Plains, Missouri. So close enough in the Ozarks area, a little bit of driving space there. They had Josh Warren had a Dodge Magnum he had outfitted with the logos, a roof rack, and everything like that, kind of a modern depiction of the Ecto-1. And his brother, Eddie Warren, probably one of our most passionate members of the group that keeps us going most of our times. Here he keeps VisionCon rolling along too. Yeah, they came up for a parade, like the worst, rainy, disgusting, cold St. Patrick's Day parade, toughed it out with me and Patrick Hall, no relation. Patrick was the kid of the group. He was like 17, 18 at the time. So he was kind of green behind the gills, but with Eddie's enthusiasm and, again, me wanting to do stuff with the extra stuff, we started doing more events, kind of charity things like a lot of the groups do here with the 501st and other things. Again, nonprofit stuff where we can go out and showcase what we've got and again, show the love we have for the franchise and hopefully encourage more people to join aboard. And I guess, let you guys tell the stories of how you got on board, how you met us. It's been so long, I've probably forgotten some of those details and what first events. So
It's been 4 years since I joined up, and it was just a simple matter of kind of like John said. You get to be an adult, you have a little bit of money for your hobby. You're like, what is my hobby? Oh Lord. And then I was like, I could put together a Ghostbuster costume. Like, I love Ghostbusters, always loved Ghostbusters. And originally it starts out as, okay, this is the last Halloween costume I ever have to deal with because for the rest of Halloween, for the rest of my life, I'm set. But then, yeah, it feels bad to set it away for one day of the year and keep it locked. So I looked online and was like, oh, there is a group in Springfield, just less than an hour from my house. Like, reach out, see what they're doing. Eddie was kind enough, Eddie Warren, as he mentioned, like, hey, we're doing a St. Patrick's Day parade. Come on down, man. And yeah, it just started spit rolling from there.
So
And
was your
just,
first to St. Patrick's Day? I can't
yeah,
remember. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
The
It
nicer
was
weather ones
the
then.
nicer
Yes.
weather one. Yeah, it was. I remember driving back to my vehicle in the back of your truck
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
because
We got it down to a science. You got to have a vehicle waiting at the end of the
yep,
parade
yep,
route. Otherwise, you got to walk another 3 miles in the boots with these packs that weigh close to 30, 40 pounds.
yep.
So,
And then I was like, I had so much fun. I connected instantly with everybody because you have shared base of like Ghostbusters, man. Like, oh, that scene. I'm gonna quote that scene back to you. Or you're gonna drop a reference. I'm gonna drop that reference back to you because we've been watching these movies for years. And so it was very much like, can I come to your next one too? And it just, yeah, you have an instant jumping off point for something that you're passionate about that you know someone else is passionate about. So I've been with the group for 4 years now. So
what's your
Uh,
story, Jason?
well, I actually joined a little bit after you,
yep,
about the same time, but 4 years I've been with the group. Um, I would say when I was younger, I liked Ghostbusters, and but I never really thought I would get into doing stuff like this. And then about 5 years ago, well, actually longer than that, 7 years ago, I went to my first Comic Con up in Kansas City, and a friend of mine up there did Ghostbusters. And I was just in awe every single time I saw him walk by with all of his gear and stuff. And I was like, one day I'm going to do that. So then about 5 years ago, I finally decided to pull the trigger, and I got all the stuff together, built my first pack. I'd never built anything before. This isn't the one I built, but I'd never built anything before. But I looked online, watched YouTube videos on how to do stuff, and threw it together. And everyone always tells me it looks pretty good.
yeah,
But anyway, so I debuted it up in Kansas City about 4 years ago because I knew a group up there, the Midland Empire Ghostbusters. Um, and I can't remember if someone from down here was up there I met, or if I just started searching down here because I live down here. But I found this group, and I went to my first convention with them. It was a little library at a little library convention,
Which
and
one was that? Where was
that
that?
was
it was Library Con at the
Okay, with the Southtown.
yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and that's when I met these guys, and ever since then I've just been hooked on it and can't get enough. And months like this where it's every single weekend we've got something going on, I just love it. Yeah, any chance to do it, I'll do it.
So you make it sound like a loving addiction, and it kind of is. And you mentioned not your first pack, and that's part of it too. Like once you build one, you will keep doing it
Yeah.
until you've maybe got something. And even then, like you'll get tired of what you've got to an extent. Like I had mine several years before the video game came out, and then I saw the add-ons they did to the video game, which I was just enamored with. So I was like, why not? Why not make my pack heavy to the point where I'm going to have back problems when I'm older? Why not? But more aesthetic stuff, things that just keep it lively for you as you move along too, and again, something new to look at as you go out and about. But yeah, so variations of things like cardboard packs, home store kind of just pieced together stuff, wood packs.
We all the way up to fiberglass, 50 pounds of, as you said,
Yeah.
back-breaking passion.
What would you guys say? Most of the ones that we've kind of got now with the sound and lights probably average about 30, 35
Yeah,
pounds.
between 10 and 30, depends on
Yeah.
sort of what the shell's made out of and all that. The Spirit Halloween is the lightest and cheapest, and just you feel like you're not wearing anything at all, and then you get all the way up to the fiberglass, and it's just like you can tell exactly why Bill Murray complains so much about having to put those proton packs on for every scene.
At least the battery packs got lighter as time goes on. So I'm sure they got a little bit lighter for him there. But once they're mounted to the Alice frame, and I tell people that, I mean, these were built for military guys out in the field doing stuff. If you've got the weight distributed right, you don't necessarily feel it when it's on. Of course, you walk a parade about 2 days later, you'll be like, why do my calves hurt so
Yeah.
bad? Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
walked 3 miles and stuff I don't normally do.
Well, this one's probably 15 to 20 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the first pack I built, which is like a resin type blend, it's up to 37 now.
Mhm.
I got 2 speakers in there, big old battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy, but I bring it out every once in a while. But this one's a lot easier on my back.
I want to circle back around because I didn't know you never built anything before you started with the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And now, like, we're so jealous of your trap and the rack in the back of your
Mhm.
HHR. Like, that's another thing too. I've learned so much trying to put my stuff together that I've actually learned life skills, and I don't know how that works. But yeah, my daughter will bring I busted this toy. Oh, your wiring's just messed up. Let me fix that because it
Right.
happened to my proton pack while I was walking in a Christmas parade.
Yeah, so you learn new skills as you go along. It's probably a lot of craftsmen here at VisionCon know that too. You get different tools. For us, you learn things like soldering, like
Yeah.
you said, minor electronics stuff like that. We learned basic stuff like always carry super glue in your trap if you've got one. Something is inevitably going to break on the way to con or after. Other things, Dremel tool. I didn't have one in the beginning, but man, what a lot of things you can do with just a little hand tool like that will make things easier and cleaner as you go along. And yeah, Jason's learned probably a little bit about car maintenance too. We haven't gotten to that part. Some of the bigger stuff here is, of course, the Ecto One. Everybody would love to have the biggest piece of equipment there. There's not a lot of the 59 millimeter Caddy Hearst combos left in the world, other than probably some rotting bodies here and there out there. So they're hard to maintain. Most of the people who do have one, they're called trailer queens. They've got to be pulled behind a trailer. They may not last long. We were in a parade with one or a similar model up in Wichita. We drove 5 hours to Wichita for a bunch of ghost heads getting together with that. Someone had a nice thing there. We made it all the way around the block we wanted to for a little mini parade, and then it didn't start back up after. So you've got a lot of people in Ghostbuster costumes crowded around an open hood trying to figure out how to get this thing back and running so they can get home, which I think he probably had a 2-3 hour drive back to a distance there. But yeah, so as much as we'd love to have one of those there, which we've got a great one here on display from the Branson Auto and Farm Museum here this weekend. So come down and see that too if you can. They're fabulous. And you got those great curves that you just can't beat. The tail fins, the colors, the big bench seats, and everything. Safety features be damned on that.
Yeah.
Stuff. But again, that's kind of like the packs. You kind of start with what's feasible, with what looks good to you. You put your own spin on it. You learn to love it. You're happy with it. You make modifications, everything like that. Again, the folks I met, the Warrens down in West Plains, had the Ecto Magnum, which was kind of, I think, a takeoff of some promotional material when people were thinking about doing a video game at one time. They just, again, kind of like the shape of the Magnum and then the length of it kind of fits that for a modern spin on it. And again, Josh was with us in parades for years and years and everything like that. And when Eddie, his brother, moved up here to the Springfield area, they got an 89 Crown Victoria, which is appropriate for 1989's Ghostbusters 2.
Yep.
And a lot of our childhood memories of riding in station wagons of that kind. It's pretty typical or pretty close to more of the vacation family truckster, as you see in a lot of stuff. So it's got that kind of crossover stuff going for it too. But white model that he's added a roof rack and all that good stuff. A lot of people who aren't real sticklers for that stuff. They love the look of it. They're really excited to take pictures of it, regardless of it being not the real model and everything like that. And of course, we love it. And bringing that back around to what Jason said, Jason's got his own spin on stuff too. So we've got another one parked outside as well.
Yeah, and again, it came from seeing other people's and then wanting to do my own. That little car cruise thing we did. We had like 5 ectos there, and I was like, man, this is so cool. I want my own. So I came home, and within a month, I was looking at vehicles online.
Addiction again.
Yeah,
Here it is.
and I was like, the Chevy HHR has that cool kind of retro look to it. It's got the wagon type look. I was like, that would make an excellent ecto. So I started searching around, and and it's probably within 2 weeks I found one. Went up and bought it, brought it home, and then over the next 3 months, 3 4 months, I worked on it uh, in my living room, which turned to be a pain when I was finally done because I was like, how am I going to get this out the door to put on the roof? But we were able to do it, and yeah, I've added a few things since then, and it's just one of those things you're never really done. You're always adding something to it. But it's nice having two Ectos in the fleet now. If one can't make it, we've got another one that can, and then when we have both there, it just is looks so cool.
And watching that need to add a little bit more has been a lot of fun because you had that beautiful rollout on the car. Everyone was incredibly impressed, and then you're like, yeah, I've got my pack in the back. I don't like just picking it up. So then you built the rack, and then you've got that really nice trap, and you're like, hey, having the pack on the rack and then the trap over here. So then you build an addition for the trap.
Mhm.
It's just like you've got this beautiful piece of
Yeah.
equipment just based off of seeing something a couple of years back and going, what
Yeah, and well, the hatch opens straight up, so when I was having to reach in the back to get the pack out, I was always hitting things.
the
But now with that, I just slide it out and come at it from the side, and it's just perfect clearance to just slide it right out, put it back in.
And of course, you've probably done some car, like we said, you learned more skills, some car maintenance with the HHR as well. I
Yeah,
remember being at an event where you were griping at having to change a headlamp bulb and how
yeah,
ridiculously placed it was to have to reach up underneath
yeah,
the wheel well and get under there. So we're at an event, and Jason's on the ground changing a headlight so we can get home safely in the
yeah.
end of the evening.
yeah.
But yeah, those are the little things, and again, that makes it endearing as far as us longevity in the community and stuff like that, and of course, growing with welcoming other members. I think we've really hit with new movie and new interests and everything like that. We went from probably 4 to 5 core members to I don't know how many we'd have now. What would you venture to say? How many people would we have that are
Like
have suited up at least and been to a couple events?
people that we can say are, that we've given our seal of approval for patch, probably about 30 now.
Mhm.
But there's definitely a core 20, I would say, that on any given event they'll probably be there because that's just the people in the area that kind of are like, I'm down, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. We try to when we do events or we get requests, we kind of field that with the group and say, to make an honest go of it, we want at least 3 Ghostbusters, which is kind of like the Ray Venkman Egon standard there.
Right.
Any more than that, that's great and welcoming. I mean, sometimes it's probably intimidating for other people when they come to an event like 1984 Arcade usually has a Ghostbusters night. People might come downstairs and there might be like 15 Ghostbusters hanging around like a bunch of
We
seagulls or something.
we try to be appropriate for the venue. We do a lot of stuff with like special needs kids or learning disabilities and uh, life skill classes, and so we're like small group, don't want to overwhelm anybody, just don't want to have a lot of noise. And then we have parades where like bring them in. I want an army of boots walking across that street. So it's nice to have that option of being able to hit our particular events and not have enough people or have too many all the time.
And you said something interesting about the kids and how they're drawn to the stuff. Of course, kids can be a little shy and standoffish in any kind of group like that. But I think one of the beauties about the Ghostbuster stuff that we do is, yeah, it's cosplay, but we're ourselves. Like we're not being Dan Aykroyd as Ray Stantz or anything like that. We put our names on our jumpsuits for the most part, and I think that kind of makes it less intimidating for people as well to approach us too. Knowing that we're real people, we're honest in our presentation and everything like that. So it makes it a little less scary for kids to approach us and everything like that. So
Yeah, and you know, with the younger kids who are, they want to live in the fantasy where they just met a real Ghostbuster, totally happy to play along and talk about all the cool ghosts we've trapped recently. And then all the guys are just like, "Hey, how do you make this stuff?" I'm like, "Plastic and duct tape, dude." We
right.
we can comfortably fit into both of those roles to just make somebody's day a little bit better.
And either way, it's kind of built into the lore. Like we said, that one throwaway line that's kind of funny at the beginning when they're they come out of the bank with the loan, right? The franchise writes a loan. So that was kind of where the video game kind of picked up with that. And I think the Arizona Ghostbusters and how there's become all these little mini groups, kind of like the 501 First has all over the world. Little franchise groups here and there that do their own thing that encompass a wide variety of fans. We overlap with a lot of people, like Jason said, the Kansas City Midland Empire Ghostbusters. We team up with them a lot. We got people that come up and see us from the tri-state area in Oklahoma and other places like that. We travel as well, and team up on events and things like that. So it's become a global thing. There's an interactive map online too, where you can see where Ghostbuster groups are registered across the globe. I'm always envious of, like, there's a Germany group out there that they're crazier than we are as far as building stuff. I mean, they build suits based on minuscule action figure variations from the Kenner line. So they've got like the grabber ghost stuff, like the neon kind of colors and
They're
everything
taking
like that.
pictures in their living room, and it's just Janine's office or like the containment grid, like this is
Right.
in their house. And I'm just like, soon. That's
Right.
soon.
Like even the most minuscule things, like we've seen the movie a billion times, like the type of like ceramic or metal whale
Whale,
Janine
yeah.
has on the corner of her desk. Someone will research that and probably spend, I don't know, $50 to $100 of that on eBay if they can find the real deal, or 3D print it if they're okay with that too. I mean, we've got things like, this is the brand of toaster from Ghostbusters 2 that dances. They're kind of again hard to find, a vintage item nowadays, but people search things like that out just to be screen accurate or have a fun little prop on the table here and there. But there's a lot of little minuscule things, as you probably know from a lot of fandoms, that people will just, fixate on and make it their thing, or pull in just for visual variety, whether or not someone knows the significance of it, or anything like that. It just kind of makes it fun for them as well.
Well, fantastic. Well, you know what? My God. I mean, come on, 40 years. Way to pack that all in there. And I'll tell you what, we're going to jump to some Q&A right now, but since I get to moderate, I'm going to ask the first one, all right? So here's what we're talking about. And so you got all these movies, you got the newest releases coming out. You've got one coming out soon, the 40th anniversary. And this is kind of popular. This is for the U3 because I think you would know this. I'm a film guy, so I probably wouldn't walk so much around with the equipment and everything. Good for you, but I love to watch the film. Easter eggs. Does the Ghostbuster franchise have those? Does that make sense what I'm asking? Share some with me if you know.
Absolutely. I know there are a number. The most recent film was sort of chock full with that fan
Mhm.
service. We'd gone so long without seeing these characters. We had, you know, Harold Ramis had sadly passed away, and so it's sort of like a homecoming. Um, Obviously, the mini puffs that appear are, a pretty obvious Easter egg to the big climax of the original film. Um, the down to certain body movements when the spoilers,
That's fine.
when the individuals are being possessed by the terror dogs and turning into terror dogs, like they've matched that like frame for frame with the other stuff. Like
Little hints, like Paul Rudd's character has a thing of keys on his thing, and he becomes the key
Key
master
master,
later on. So those are little subtle things, but I think they sidled Egon and the fact that he's not there with a lot of the visual references. For whatever reason, Egon became the food junkie. And a lot of that comes from the first movie too. So, of course, Twinkies is the big one. Everyone loves that line. Of course, Twinkies are always going to be hidden somewhere. You see, of course, she pulls a Twinkie wrapper out of his old jumpsuit in Afterlife. That's a reference to that. Cheez-Its is one of the.
John, it was a
Oh, no, it's a Crunch Bar. He's right.
Crunch bar.
Crunch Bar.
Actually,
Crunch Bar is behind the Twinkie. So I'd say it's Twinkie, Crunch Bar, and then I would say Cheez It is number third.
Yeah.
Cheez It is the forgotten of the three.
Yeah.
You see the Ray and Egon eating those and passing those back and forth when they're spouting technical jargon about the books they're going to reference in
Poor
Dana's
Sigourney
case.
Weaver is like
Right.
regretting her decision to
I
come
think
in.
I think there's some Cheez-Its in Egon's kitchen
Yep.
briefly in the
Yep.
new movie that are hidden there, along with the toaster and the actual box for the toaster.
Wow.
So you could tell if you needed to research the model there, they laid it out there for you there. But yeah, the props guy in Afterlife, he must have been a fan and researching all that stuff and pulling all that from the archives and again throwing those in there for fans, and again knowing that a lot of people aren't going to care or know what that's about.
And I always think back to the first trailer, not the teaser, but the first trailer for Afterlife. where the young lady's gone down. She's exploring whose room is this? We think it might be a Ghostbuster. And eventually they reveal the Spangler jumpsuit, and that's everybody else's reveal of who it is. But for guys like us, when she's going through and looking at like bacterium and spores and molds and fungus, oh, that's Egon's room because he talks about spores, molds, and fungus. Like we know instantly whose room this is. So yeah, that's the kind of the inside baseball kind of. Yeah, we'll give you a little bit of this, but we'll also explain it for everybody else because God, you guys are nerds.
Yeah. It's outstanding. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, and I will be happy to look for those in the upcoming films. But I know we got people in the room here who have questions because you didn't just want to see the stuff up close, but do I have any questions from the audience? You got one? Right in the back room. Go ahead and project to us. Go ahead.
Ever considered using other methods to build your packs besides like just going to the hardware store? Like, have you ever thought about doing 3D printing or building it out of foam to help with that weight issue?
Yep, we have some foam. There is some durability issues, especially when we're trudging along through the heavy stuff. But the foam packs and cardboard packs look really nice, sort of in isolation. We have a couple of the cardboard packs hanging on our booth, and you'd have a hard time telling the difference for sure. And we all start in the lightweight kind of quick and dirty kind of thing. But then I don't know if it's ego, I don't know if it's passion, I don't know if it's maybe a mixture of both. But like, I want something more like the movie, and then more like the movie. But we've got Brandon Lothran, who, if you're familiar with VisionCon, you might be familiar with Brandon Lothran. He's doing 3D printing and resin forms, and he's done some foam packs. We all have multiple little experiments into different directions for the packs, and it's sort of part of the journey.
I'm glad you mentioned the foam too. We forgot to mention EVA foam is another one that's become kind of a big thing with the cosplay community, as you know. And yeah, really, that could be considered accurate, screen accurate as well, because they refer to stunt packs, and you can actually see them in a lot of the movies too. Certain scenes where you know that that's just a foam pack that they need to be more mobile and stuff like that. I'm thinking particularly of like when they're getting that little huddle together to combat Gozer and see what they're doing. You can see them kind of huddle down in this tight knit thing. The cyclotron lights are stationary. I think Venkman bumps up against a wall where you can see the ion arm bend a little bit.
And when the ground breaks open and they all fall in the hole and everyone's worried the Ghostbusters are dead, as the stuntmen are rolling down these fake broken streets, you can see the proton packs compress and expand back out as they're rolling down.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever happened to one of us, but that's one of our worst fears, to fall on our backs like this thing, like a turtle. Not necessarily for our safety, but just to hear the pieces and probably scream to someone else, "Find the pieces, please. Where did that go?" So yeah, a foam pack would be, again, perfectly accurate if you want to build a stunt pack. There's a lot of stuff online for that too, in that particular way it looks. If you see the packs like in person too, at like Planet Hollywoods or stuff on display, you can really see the movie magic that makes things work to look good, because it may be because they're 40 years old, but I would also wager they never looked that good other than the light and the magic, the way you light things behind the scenes. I actually would say they look kind of crappy in some ways too, but it works on the screen. So the EVA foam, as I get older too, I'm probably going to experiment more with that. Some of the more angular packs, like the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon one, might be a good one to start with that. I'm even a fan of the Extreme Ghostbusters one. It's got a different shape and stuff. I don't know if anybody remembers the Extreme Ghostbusters is like 1997, kind of that cooling off period. They were trying to keep it going. It's got a different type of pack shape and feature that we'd like to bring into the mix here and then. I actually built one out of wood not too long ago, actually 10 years ago. But again, kind of the different things you can do with the different materials you've got on hand. I think, again, foam would be a good place to start too if you're worried about weight distribution and stuff like that too.
It's also cost, and layers and layers of foam is way cheaper than a lot of the other stuff.
Right. I mean, we're talking like cheap floor mats that you get at Harbor Freight. Typically has those. Be like $10 for a pack of 4, fairly decent sized ones. So you can get a good chunk of the pack with that, and just an X-Acto knife and a good set of plans, really.
All right, and imagination. That's always
Yep,
the deal.
yep.
So who's got another question? Anybody? Yes, go ahead, sir.
You mentioned that you've done events like the St. Patrick's Day Parade and so on and whatnot and so on. Do you have like a particular event that really stood out as one of your favorites that you really enjoyed?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think we all have one that's close to our hearts.
Yeah. I like the odd ones that pop up every now and then. I mean, the 5-hour drive to Wichita is an event in itself. Just to be with your crew and your friends it's a pretty boring drive if you've ever done that from Springfield up there, and there's usually road construction. But again, knowing that we're going to get there and see other people that share the passion, see a bunch of different cars and gear and methods, and getting inspired by that. That one kind of stands out. That 5-hour Wichita Ecto Rally was kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the couple years ago 1984 arcade.
Oh,
They
yeah.
called it Haunted 84, and it was what was it, a week or 4 days? I can't remember exactly.
It was 4 weekends in a row.
4 weekends in a row, but they had a containment unit downstairs. We had some actors that put on a little thing shutting down the containment grid, and we all run upstairs, and
Yeah,
then people would come out dressed as ghosts.
I'm
And
sure. I'm sure most people that live in Springfield probably been to 1984 arcade. They started with like a Stranger Things kind of room at one year, and they expanded. They wanted to do Ghostbusters one year. Of course, they wanted us to be involved, and they built the full scale containment unit thing with the light sequence, the shutdown thing. The when it shut down and when the ghosts were going to escape, that was the closest thing we did to an actual like cosplay skit thing
Right.
with actual lines
Yeah.
to do that for people's benefit there, and the actual wrangling of a ghost through like LED cables and
Yeah,
stuff.
we had a actor playing Beetlejuice, which is everybody's most wanted crossover is Ghostbusters versus Beetlejuice.
Which again, accurate. Universal Studios. Beetlejuice did cross over with the Ghostbusters there. Those Hollywood stage graveyard review, right? That's what
Yeah,
it was called. And we had a friend of ours here in the cosplay community, Jeff Denton. He's got the right beard and hair color to be Walter Peck. He dressed up in the 3-piece suit and was so nice to let us slime him at the end of the event with some melted shaving cream, just like they did in the movie. Dumped that from not quite as high as they did in the
No,
movie,
not
but
quite.
at least a stairwell above.
And we checked to make sure Jeff wasn't allergic, unlike
Yes.
poor
Yes.
poor actor. I've got two events. I've got the altruistic event that's close to my heart, and the really selfish event that's close to my heart. My brother has special needs. He's on the autism spectrum. So every time we get to go to, like I mentioned, one of these um, assisted living home communities or life skill classes, s- uh, groups of people who still want to have fun during Halloween but are often overlooked, I always feel like really warm in my heart to be able to go and have fun with them and see them be excited about Ghostbusters the same way I am. The really selfish part of me is we filmed a little bit when Ghostbusters Afterlife came out for the Alamo or the IMAX down in Branson. Um, just catching one of their regular comedians who was a ghost at the time and getting stiffed on the bill. It was just a little short they played before the movie, and being able to sit in an IMAX next to my daughter with me on the IMAX screen. That's probably the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life or will ever do. So that's kind of my close to my heart moment.
Awesome. A great example. Great example. Anybody else have a question? Yes, go ahead. Could you I'm sorry, just for a second, just project. Thank you.
Right part is dressed up like that though. I think that's you guys.
It's not one of ours, but we know who it is. We've interacted with them before. Like there are fans all over. There's a green car up front. I've never seen before. It's got Ghostbusters stuff all over it. Yeah, we'll put our Missouri Ghostbusters logo on everything, so you can kind of tell if it's us or not.
Right. Yeah. So this is one, and most groups do come up with their own variation of the patch. It usually has to do with the ghost itself. Try to do something, that's unique to the group there. We've got the Ghostbusters point, the Ready to Believe You, which is our common pose for photos too, and incorporating some unusual gear there, like the actual wand itself. We didn't see in a lot of other groups' patches. So again, if you see this specific model we use the M for Missouri, closest thing we get there, and the O and comes in Missouri. They're part of our group officially as far as that goes. Typically, when someone comes and wants to be a part of the group, we've kind of had that bare minimum of come to 3 events. You make 3 events, you probably get a patch at that point. Yeah, so we kind of that's how we feel. If you're really into it, and whether we'll see you again, because these things aren't cheap necessarily. So
Yeah, and because we're a nonprofit, we don't take any money for any events, birthday parties, parades, special events. We've never accepted any payment. So all of this comes out of our own pocket. Where we buy business cards, we buy web space, and we do the patches for our members, and all that just comes out of passion. Like it's our hobby. It's the thing we like to do. So we don't give out everything for free, even though ostensibly we are a charity.
and I guess it was something we forgot to mention. People wanted to reach out to us about, again, any kind of event they would feel appropriate Ghostbusters to be at, that we would be happy to work out with them. Usually our Facebook page. I know that's dating us a little bit, Facebook, but that's usually the best way. All of our group members have eyes on something. We'll talk back and forth behind the scenes to see if we again can get the 3 core members of some kind to go to that, so we can say, yeah, we've got a good showing for you. Whether or not we can have a car there, this or that, what type of event it is. But yeah, if you've got something coming up that you feel you'd like our group to come by to, just shoot us a message on our Facebook page. Again, Missouri Ghostbusters, you'll be able to find us pretty easy on there.
So here's a good one, I think, because I'm coming up with it, so I think it's good. But haha. So here you are, and we've all loved the movie for almost 40 years, and the whole franchise to go along with it. And these 3 guys were there to collect ghosts. How do you work with the folks who believe in the ghost and the ones who are like the paranormal hunters and so forth? I love crossovers. There's got to be something in there that you guys have experienced. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think the people who do the paranormal investigation stuff for real, they're a little standoffish with us here. Like we might be there to make fun of it, or we're the hokey show version of that. We try to dispel that early on, and just again, us being ourselves. There's a lot of us who are, may not be jumping into it full feet first, but a lot of us have. We're ready to believe. We're ready to believe you as well. But a lot of us have that interest in the paranormal as well. We've got, books. Austin, who's not here today, he usually has some of the same kind of devices those ghost hunters use to monitor things, different kind of sounds and waves like that. We were just in an event last night at Drury campus here where they had a team of ghost investigators looking in one of their music halls where they typically have a disturbance. They had their equipment out and kind of talked about that stuff. So we try to bridge that gap as much as we can. We're, of course, very friendly with them too. We'd like to be involved with them when we can. We've been at them at events too. We'd like to do crossovers with them if we can too. And again, letting them know that, we're not here to, again, make fun of that or any beliefs of that too, because a lot of us here believe in that, have some belief in it, or at least a fascination with the potential of that stuff, as well as the gear and stuff that they use in their methods. So,
But it is kind of heartbreaking sometimes when people do come to us and say that, they have this ghost in my house. Can you take care of it? Actually, I can't. This is plastic, and I really wish I could, but alas.
and of course, yeah, some of us too have different spiritual beliefs too, and that's what makes it great about the group. Different beliefs and stuff like that. I might skew a little more on the religious side too when we talk about. Well, of course, you might need an exorcist.
Yeah.
When you call a priest, or we may know who to call if it's not us. Exactly.
Well, that's okay because it's got enthusiasm and they're
Right.
interested also. And if there's a bridge that can happen with that, I think that's a fantastic thing. Do we have any other questions? Anything else that piqued your interest or curiosity? No? Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time and the dang enthusiasm. Heck yeah. I mean, to carry that around and build that, I couldn't tell the difference between that and Vinkman's back. I mean, that's fantastic. And you're right. He did walk around and shift all the time like, I hate this. Yes. So, but you guys are having fun with it. Get out there and make sure you drop by the exhibit. They are up here on the main floor. It's a fantastic time, and they are obviously ready to answer all your questions, take pictures in the whole 9 yards. So thank you so much to John and Jason and Nate from Missouri Ghostbusters. We really, really appreciate it, and we're going to see you all the years coming forth. I hope so too.
Thank you for having
Be
us.
here.
We're ready to believe you.
There you go.
There you go.